Hey guys, welcome back. Got some good economic related articles for you. Let's get into these. All right, this one's from October 2nd. Yesterday, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, confirmed that 5 to 10 new countries will join Bahrain to the UAE to join normalization process and sign peace agreements with Israel. In an interview with the Israeli Settlement magazine, Macron Richmond, Friedman pointed out that talks are underway with some countries to move their embassies to Jerusalem, noting that there has been great progress in this matter. He said there are two diplomatic opportunities for Israel: normalization with countries that had not yet recognized it, and the transfer of embassies of countries that recognize Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He continued, "We reached a conclusion that there is a better chance for Israel at the present time through rapprochement with the Arab countries and normalization with them. We have brought about tremendous change and great opportunity for those who believe in sovereignty." Friedman added, "We also have proposed a program that will not allow the evacuation of any settlers, and in fact, the Israeli flag is flying over Hebron, Gush Etzion, Mala Adram, and Beit El, and our plan is that these flags will remain forever. It is noteworthy that the Israeli Supreme Council for Planning and Building will meet next Sunday to approve the construction of 5,400 settlement units in the West Bank." Now, let's look at this for a second. What's the point of all these? They're calling them peace agreements, guys. That's not really, I mean, you could call it peace agreements. Trump's a businessman. Trump does everything about business. And it's, he does business plans to help others out and to also, use it as a bartering tool. So let's look at this. I got an article for you that kind of brings all this into perspective right here. 5 reasons why Israelis' peace deals with UAE and Bahrain matter. I guarantee you guys, the first reason has to do with trade. Ooh, look at that. The Gulf states see opportunities for trade and more. The deal hopes the ambitious Emirates, who have built themselves into a military power as well as a place to do business or go on a holiday. It looks as if the Americans helped seal the deal with the promise of advanced weapons in the past UAE. So, yeah, there you go. And look right here, right above line 1. It says, "This is why the deals are significant." So as you see, the first one has to do with trade in the Gulf. So, and also number 2, it helps. Number 2, it helps Israel to be less isolated in the region. Okay. And then number 3. Hold on, I apologize, guys. It's all going crazy on me here. Okay. So again, line 2 was it prevents Israel from being less isolated within the region. Number 3, it gives Donald Trump celebrates a foreign policy coup. Number 4, the Palestinians feel betrayed. Number 5, Iran has a new strategic headache. So, guys, all you really care about this is number 1 and number 5. They're doing all of this in a way to rebuild trade and definitely help Israel out with trade. Okay, so they're not so isolated, and so they're doing this to promote Israel. But as you see here, it says Iran has a new strategic headache, guys. The Trump administration has actually turned all of these countries against Iran now. Okay, so that's what it boils down to. They call it a peace agreement. It's really a trade agreement to benefit and kind of help Israel out, kind of promote Israel in the region to turn others against Iran, okay, to make Iran feel isolated so that it'll collapse their economy, and it kind of forces Iran to start working with Trump and with the Trump administration, guys. So that's the truth. I didn't know if you knew that. I just wanted to show it to you. All right, back to the news articles. Let's see what we have. Parliamentary finance. The government needs an additional $3 billion to cover their expenses. The decision of Parliamentary Finance Committee confirmed on Saturday that the government needs an additional $3 billion to cover expenses, including salaries, indicating that the government had to present a short budget. Al-Safar said in a radio interview, the government needs 7 trillion dinar to cover its expenditures from employee salaries, social care, ruling expenses, and revenues are currently 4 trillion, and therefore an additional 3 trillion is needed. The budget was supposed to be presented briefly for 3 months only, especially since it had passed 9 months, and investment projects cannot add to it, but the government presented a budget law with a deficit up to 80 trillion, and thus it was difficult to pass in the House of Representatives. He pointed out the only solution to solve the problem of salaries and expenditures is to approve the budget law and include borrowing in it. It was assumed that the government would not withdraw it today after sending it to the House of Representatives. And the guys, this article is from today, 10/3. So they're even telling you in this article that they really need to get that budget passed and add borrowing to it. They're telling you that's the correct way to go with the economy. With documents, taxes achieve record revenues to make important decisions. This article is from yesterday, the 2nd. The deputy said in the General Authority for Taxes achieved record revenues late September. Representative Nassif praised in a statement received by War News Agency a copy of it, the successful measures implemented by the General Tax Authority, which contributed to the increasing of state revenues and facilitated by taxpayers' payment without sending it to dedication. So I want to show you guys something. You guys already get this. It says here, taxes achieved record revenues and make an important decision. Let me show you something here. I have another article I'm going to show you. It says right here that, hold on, wait, you know what? Anyway, guys, I apologize. I don't have it. Anyway, there was an article about roughly a week ago, I think, that said that the 21 budget would be doing very well with tax revenue. Almost like they're suggesting they don't have active taxes right now, guys. They've had active taxes since the beginning of this year. That's when they really rolled it out. Okay, tariff taxes, private taxes, their whole tax system was implemented at the beginning of this year. Okay, I had a chance to talk to my Iraqi contact and that works for the government, and he shared all that with me. But as you see right here, they already have taxes, and they're telling you they're doing well with it financially. Okay, they're telling you they've made record revenues. All right, so just interesting how they sometimes shoot themselves in the foot, and they say one thing and then sometimes they tell you another. The financial problem in Iraq is a management problem that needs radical treatments. Representative of the National Approach confirmed on Saturday that the financial problem in Iraq is a problem and a management crisis that led to this result, while indicating that the financial crisis needs radical, responsible, and conscious treatments with 2 dimensions. The first, immediate and quick, and second, strategic. Said in an interview, the financial problem in Iraq is a problem and a management crisis that led to this difficult, given that Iraq has capabilities and resources, and in the event of proper management, can achieve financial abundance for the state treasury, indicating that the government unfortunately does not have it. Seriousness in dealing with it and handling these matters. Border outlets, customs, communications, mobile phone companies, oil derivatives, and investment and other sectors are all doors that in a properly managed, rational, mature, responsible state can generate between 20 to 25 trillion dinar for the state's treasury per month, pointing out that as a result, for the insistence on following the same method applied previously, we have reached these negative consequences for which the citizen pays. He continued, mismanagement is another chapter in the problem, considering that when Parliament approved the borrowing last June at an amount of 15 trillion dinar, the matter was based on what the government presented, that this amount covers the deficit in terms of necessary expenditures and salaries, but the government today is bankrupt, and this is evident of mismanagement and the lack of vision for the government to address the stifling crisis, stressing that in the event that this stereotype remains, the future will be unknown without any type of light at the end of the tunnel, into which these confused policies have brought us into the holders of power throughout the previous period. They stress that we need radical, responsible, conscious treatments with two dimensions. The first, that I am fast and secure with the necessary needs of the Iraqi state, and the second is a strategy that secures liquidity and financial boom. Look at that, guys. Secures the liquidity and a financial boom by raising the level of non-oil revenues in the general budget. See, here you go. They're telling you again, they really got to get a budget going. They're telling you they need to, and they do have non-oil revenue right now. Okay, they just, we just went through. They just told you they had a surplus of tax revenue, a record tax revenue. Okay, and then they noting that these problems all still exist, and we are seeing that there's a new borrowing laws looming, and that it is a pity to this situation that remains. So Iraq's oil exports to America exceed 3 million barrels of oil within a month. That's good. They're doing good on oil. Parliamentary finance. The fiscal deficit in Iraq is temporary. Parliament is ready for an emergency. Even right here, guys, Parliament's telling you they're ready for an emergency session, and that's pretty much to pass a budget. So let's look at this. The Parliamentary Finance Committee confirmed today, Friday, that current financial deficit in Iraq is temporary, noting that the Parliament is ready to hold an emergency session. Committee said, according to the official agency, that the current deficit is temporary and embarrassing deficit for the government and Parliament because there is a slight deficit to finance the salaries for the month of September, which the government is more than 46 days late in paying, pointing out that in the event the draft budget is awaited, so right there they're telling you that they're ready to hold an emergency session for the budget, or applying a new loan law, the issue will be delayed by more than a week or 10 days or maybe more. And this will lead to a lot of embarrassment. So you guys got the point of that article. They're telling you that Parliament's ready to have an emergency session and they got to do something. Either borrow or get a budget approved. Parliamentary finance reveals the amount of borrowing was not spent on salaries. A member of the Parliamentary Finance Committee representative confirmed on Saturday that the government did not spend the amount of borrowing voted on the House of Representatives on its employees as it was supposed to, calling on the Ministry of Finance to reveal the truth about the issue. The House of Representatives, when it approved the borrowing months ago, was in order to secure salaries of employees, but it appears as though the Ministry of Finance recent statement that the amount of borrowing was spent in other sections, calling for a real disclosure with the Ministry of Finance about the current situation in the country. He added the government sent a budget for the remainder of 2020, and it stayed in one day and then was withdrawn, noting that there are two paths for the government to secure the salaries of employees, which is the draft budget or submit a request for borrowing. So they either have to do a budget or borrow again. As he considered the issue of borrowing is difficult to pass because the government has not committed itself to presenting the reform paper and has not provided any measures to order or modify the country's financially, noting that the committee will host the Ministry of Finance after the end of the 40 visit in order to clarify the financial situation in Iraq and ways to find solutions on the status quo. There you go, guys. So one thing I want you guys to think about is let's look at the big picture in this. Iraq right now is literally getting nothing done. That does suggest to us that they've completed everything because, again, they're not doing anything, all right? And they're hiding the budgets from us. They've already told us in multiple articles. They've told us that the 2020 budget has reforms in us. They've showed some of the reforms, and they told us in at least 3 or 4 articles they've hidden the 2020 budget numbers from us, that they have yet to reveal the true 2020 budget numbers. So this is where you have to ask yourself, why is Iraq at the point where they're hiding everything from us? Okay? Why aren't they getting anything done? Why aren't they getting the reforms approved? What are the reforms waiting on? Why haven't they started the approval process of any of the budgets? Okay, or why haven't they, if they're not going to do the 2020 budget, why have they not done another borrowing law? Okay, they're literally getting nothing done and they're hiding everything from us, guys. There's a main key reason for that, so think about that carefully. Hey, you guys are the best. Have yourselves a great day. Take care.